And our Blessed Mother, Mama Mary, di ba? Binuhat siya, hawak-hawak siya ng kanyang ina. Hello mga ka-faith, my name is Adrian, Milag, and welcome again to my vlog. At kung first time mo dito sa aking YouTube channel, make sure na mag-subscribe ka at click mo yung notification bell button sa baba ng video na to para lagi kang updated sa mga bagong vlog na gagawin ko. Mga ka-faith, I'm sure kung Katoliko ka, ay very familiar ka sa work of art na to nating mga Katoliko, at very proud tayo dito because this is world class number 1 na work of arts, at ito ang PIETA. I'm sure familiar ka sa PIETA. It's depicting Jesus Christ na hawak-hawak siya ni Mama Mary, di ba? Yung dead body of Jesus when he was crucified on the cross, and our Blessed Mother, Mama Mary, di ba? Binuhat siya, hawak-hawak siya ng kanyang ina. And itong PIETA na to is a picture of mercy and compassion. Parang pinapakita dito yung grasya ng Diyos, yung awa ng Diyos sa atin. Pinakikita dito yung salvation nating mga tao. Dito pinakikita kung gaano tayo kamahal ng Diyos. Dahil binigay ni Jesus ang buhay niya sa atin. Naghirap siya, nagsakripisyo siya, naging tao siya para sa ating mga kasalanan. What a privilege, di ba? Parang, hello, hindi natin deserve yung mga tao, pero ginawa yun ng Diyos. Despite of all our weakness, despite of all our sin. And makikita din natin dyan sa PIETA ang pagmamahal ng isang ina. A sorrowful mother that is grieving and crying for her child. Sobrang wasak na wasak ang puso ni Mama Mary habang nakikitang pinapatay sa harapan niya ang kanyang anak. And you know what, mga ka-faith, ganyan ang mahal nating ina. When we are in sorrow, when we are grieving, when we are in pain, doon tayo binubuhat ni Mama Mary. She is comforting us in our pain, in our weakness, when we are in sorrow. And she is praying for us in heaven 24 hours. So always ask for her powerful intercession. And mga ka-faith, alam nyo ba ang PIETA ay ginawa ni Michelangelo? At makikita ang PIETA sa St. Peter's Basilica. Almost 500 years na simula nang nagawa ito. At sobrang nakaka-proud talaga bilang isang Katoliko na yung PIETA na yan is a work of art. Talagang number 1 yan sa buong mundo. Di ba, walang makakapantay sa ganda ng ginawa ni Michelangelo. Para sa akin, it was inspired by the Holy Spirit na gawin niya ni Michelangelo. And alam niyo mga ka-faith, speaking of PIETA, di ba kanina yung sinabi ko about our pain, our problem, our sorrow, merong magandang ginawang analogy. Okay, dito si Brother Bo Sanchez. Meron siyang inspiring message for us na kinonek niya dito sa PIETA. Kung paano nagawa tong PIETA. At kinonek niya tong preaching niya about our pain. Tungkol sa pinagdadaanan mo ngayon. Tungkol sa matinding problema na pinagdaanan mo sa buhay. Sobra kayong mabibless dito sa talk ni Brother Bo Sanchez. At kung di mo kilala si Brother Bo Sanchez, isa siyang very popular na Catholic preacher. Okay, so panoodin nyo ito mga ka-faith.
Imagine that you were a tourist. Imagine that there's this tourist and he went with Father Eric in that pilgrimage to Europe. And he went to Rome. So if you want to imagine yourself to be that tourist, that's fine. So there's this tourist and he goes to Vatican and he's excited. And so he goes to the Vatican Museum and he looks at this and he looks at that and looks at this and he's so overwhelmed by it all. Then he goes to the Sistine Chapel and he looks at the ceiling and wow, just amazing, just amazing. Anyway, he left the best for last. He was going to visit St. Peter's Basilica. And so he goes there and he oohs and and oohs and ahs and is lost in the reverie of the admiration of such beautiful masterpieces. And then he didn't realize it was dark already. I mean, imagine museums, Sistine Chapel. It was dark already and there was no one in church anymore. He didn't know. He didn't notice. And the last thing he saw was the Pieta. How many of you know what the Pieta is? Okay, most of you do. It's the most famous sculpture in the world, in all of history. It is the, you got what I'm saying? Number one, okay? Most popular, most well-known, and what I believe the most beautiful, okay? Now here it is, here it is. As he was gazing at the Pieta, again, lost, you know? Just, wow. Didn't know. Suddenly, the giant doors of the church closed. And the lights shut down. And it was all dark. And he said, oh no, the church is closed. They left me here. I'm the only one here. And then he heard a voice. I told you this was a wild story. He heard a voice. The Pieta spoke. Don't worry. There will be a guard that will come in 20 minutes. You can shout and he'll hear you and open the door. And the tourist looks at the Pieta and says, yeah! And he wants to run away. But his curiosity overcame his fear. And he said, are you Mama Mary? And the Pieta said, no, I'm just a Pieta, just a statue talking to you. And the tourist said, okay. Yeah! But you know, he stood his ground and he said, I don't know why you're talking to me, but just want you to know, you're incredible, you're beautiful, you're such a magnificent art piece. You're wow. And the Pieta said, I know. But do you know, once upon a time, no one wanted me. Once upon a time, no one looked at me. Once upon a time, I was not beautiful at all. And the tourist said, oh, come on. That's not true. You've been beautiful since the beginning. And the Pieta said, no. Once upon a time, I was a block of stone. I was a block of stone. And I was in an old warehouse collecting dust beside other blocks of stone. And you know what? No one was looking at us. No one. Until one day, there was this young man, 25 years old. He comes into the warehouse, looks at all the blocks of stone, looks at the block of stone there and the block of stone here, and then he looked at me. And then for some reason, he kept on looking at me. It was the first time anyone like that looked at me in that way, in a queer way. He just was so fascinated by me. And then he would walk around looking at me from different angles. And after some time, he called some men and they carried me off to his house. Wow. Later on, I learned that his name was Michelangelo. But here is what happened. In that house, I was there and I felt I was special. I was ugly. I was this squarish block of stone, but he saw something in me that I did not see in myself. And then this guy, this young chap, he got a pencil and he started marking on me. Marking and drawing and lining and circling and so on. And it violated me. I didn't know what he was doing. I mean, it didn't hurt so much, you know, but sometimes a slight pain here and there. But, you know, what was he doing? And then, after a few hours of doing that, you know what he did? He put down the pencil and he got a metal stick. A metal thingy with a sharp end, a pointy end. And I said, "What are you gonna do with that? Don't you dare." And you know what that kid did? He put it, made it, that metal thing, he rested it on top of me, and then he got a hammer. And I said, "No!" And then boom! And for the very first time in my life, I've never felt so much pain. There was so much pain. My gosh. And then I looked down and there was one chip of me, one part of me. God, oh no, it's God. You cut it. Stop. You think he stopped? No. That crazy lunatic. He put it on top of me again. His marble, his metal steel, and he pounded it again and pounded it again and pounded it again. I didn't know, but it would last for 8 years. 8 years of pounding and pounding and pounding and chisel. Friends, I tell you this story because this is not just a wild story. This is your story. You are that block of stone that no one looks at. When people look at you, they pass you by. You are that block of marble. But then an artist comes along. His name is Jesus. He looks at you. He looks at you from every angle. He has this big smile and it's a twinkle in his eye because he sees something that you do not see. He sees something that other people do not see. What does he see? He sees a masterpiece in the marble. And when he does that, this is what he does. He will liberate that masterpiece from that marble. He will liberate your beauty. He will liberate your wonder. He will liberate your awesomeness from your ordinariness. This is the work of God. But, everybody say, but, it's not all good news. Like Michelangelo, God will get his chosen instrument. He will get a chisel. He will get a chisel. He will use pain to shape you and mold you to become who God wants you to be. Are you listening to me? I want you to look at this photo of a block of stone and the PIETA, and they're exactly just one and the same thing. Do you understand me? No, you don't. Let me impress that to you again. Those two things, you see? You see? They're the same. They're the same thing, but the only difference was that there was an artist who came along and liberated the PIETA from the block. Am I making sense here? And that is what God will do in your life. That is what God will do in your life. And I do not know what pain you went through. Maybe it was poverty. Or maybe the doctor came along and told you that there's a negative report in your medical test and there's something wrong with your body. Or maybe there's a conflict in your relationship and it's causing you a lot of pain now. Or maybe you discover that your kids are taking drugs and you're praying. You don't know why, but but it's the pain. Whatever pain you're going through, God's gonna use it. I should know. I should know. Most of you know that I was molested as a child and I fell into addictions and I lived a tormented life for years and I was such a mess with all my insecurities and all my shame and all my fear bottled up in my heart. I was sinning against God. I was addicted to this and addicted to that for years. Why did God have to make me go through that pain? No, I do not believe God wanted me to go through that pain. And if you're going through your pain right now, somebody abused you, somebody violated you, somebody robbed from you, you were abandoned by your husband, or you were abused by a stepfather, listen to me. God never wanted it to happen. I don't have time to go to the theology of talking about permissive will and the perfect will of God. Don't have time for that. But just want you to know this. God did not intend that pain for you. You understand me? But, everybody say but. But when God allows someone to do good with the same package of allowing you to do good, He's also allowing you to do bad. And when He allows you to do bad, then therefore we live in a broken world. We live in a world caught in this tension of yes, allowing the good and yet allowing also the pain. But this is the promise of God. The promise of God is this. Ask me what? That God will use that pain. Whatever pain you're going through, and God allowed that pain to come to my life, to shape me to who I am right now. Why is this ministry, why is Light of Jesus community so totally fixated on the unchurched, on the sinner, on the broken person? Why is the feast? Why is here, right now, we're gathering together. We've been gathering for so many years now. Why are we totally bent on welcoming every sinner that walks through that door? The adulterer, the pornographer, the drug addict, the person who's lost and has no direction, has no meaning in his life, the gambler, the alcoholic. Why are we totally bent on loving them and welcoming them here in this place? Why? Because of the pain that I went through. I've gone through brokenness. I've gone through pain. I was a sinner for the longest time. God loved me. God welcomed me. And here I am. I want to do the same thing to everybody. People don't understand how totally, completely, 100% fanatical we are that this community is for the unchurched. Let me ask you a question. How many of you have given your life to God already? How many of you have given your life to Jesus? You've made that decision somewhere along the way. In the different Sundays that you've been here, you kind of like reach that point where you say, yeah, I'm a disciple of Jesus. Raise your hand if you've made that decision already, that you're going to be a disciple of Jesus. Keep raising your hand. Listen. Are you listening? Say, I'm listening. The moment you made a decision to follow Jesus, at that precise moment, this community ceased to be for you. Oh, you didn't get it. When you came in through those doors and you still did not yet make that decision to give your life to Jesus, this community was for you. The moment you made that decision, that moment was the last time this community was for you. This community, if you found Jesus, it's no longer for you. Sorry. If you want to be pampered and nurtured and all of that stuff, this is not for you. This community is totally, completely fixated, obsessed for the outsider, for the unchurched. You, if you found Jesus, you shouldn't be in front of me anymore. You should be beside me, serving the Lord together. I shouldn't be serving you anymore. You should be serving with me. You got what I'm saying? And you know, there are people out there, the outsiders out there, they don't pray, they don't read the Bible, they you know, a woman maybe out there and she's wearing a mini skirt, and the mini skirt is so mini that it's almost like a big belt that she's wearing. And other prayer groups, when they look at that woman, they'll oh, I hope she won't enter. I hope she won't go in. I hope not. She will be a desecration, a blasphemy, a heresy. Oh no, she's coming. Yeah. Hi sister, how are you? I think this group is not for you. It's too revealing. No, we're religious people here. No. You can come back, you know, when you have more cloth. No, we're not like that. If that girl comes in and for some reason that's what she wants to wear, guess what? And she says she does not pray. She says she doesn't read the Bible. She says, you know, she's got a tattoo on every part of her body. I don't care. She's got a thumb ring and she's got pierce this and pierce that, and I don't care. I'm going to welcome that person. I'm going to put her in the front row Because this whole community is for people like that. We're for the unchurched. Are you listening to me? We're for the unchurched. That we are for people who do not, and we're still looking and searching, and that's who we are. And why? Ask me why. Because of the pain that I went through. God welcomed me when I was a sinner. God loved me when I was a sinner. Amen? And your pain shaped you in such a way that prepared you for better things. Tell someone beside you, nothing just happens. I was talking to a woman yesterday, and it's very interesting. When I was reading about Orpah leaving Naomi, you know what? Maybe an Orpah left your life. A woman talked to me yesterday. She was telling me that her boyfriend left her, and she was crushed. She was crushed, you know. And I told her, "Are you coming tomorrow? Are you going tomorrow at the feast? Because I'm going to preach to you that nothing just happens. That sometimes an Orpah will have to leave." You know, and not that Orpah was bad, no, but it was, you know, the part of her life was over in Naomi's life, and she had to walk away. And T.D. Jakes, I love what he said. I'm going to share it with you. He said, and I want to say this to you. If someone can walk out of your life, then let them walk. You didn't hear me. If someone can walk out of your life, then let them walk. If a boyfriend or a girlfriend walked out of your life, don't go running after him, begging for his love, pleading that person call you up, please, even just a little drop of your love. You know, no. If they can walk out of your life, let them walk up your life. You know why? Ask me why? Because nothing just happens. That person, he wasn't really going to be good for you. He wasn't really going to be a blessing to you in the long term. And you know why that left? Why that person left? Ask me again, why? That person left so there would be space for a new person to come in. And if somebody walks out of your life, let him walk. Nothing just happens. Nothing. Yesterday, late in the evening, I received an email from somebody who was fired from his job. And I emailed that person right away. It was last night, late last night. And I said, "Are you coming to the feast tomorrow? You better be there, because I'm going to preach to you that, yeah, it's painful that your company fired you. But you know what? It's because nothing just happens. Because God has a plan for your life. There is a plan. God orders the steps of a good person. And what God will do is this. He's creating space. A better job is coming your way. But you've got to believe in that. You've got to believe that nothing just happens. Brother Bo, I mean, really? Even the worst thing that can ever happen to my life, it will have a blessing, it will have a purpose, it will do something to my life. It's part of a grander scheme of things. Can I invite you to stand up? I want to read one verse for you. But let me say that again. Some of you've lost things in your life. Yes? Some of you've lost certain things. You've lost certain people. Yes, some people did walk out of your life. Let me say one last thing about that topic before I move on. Your destiny is not tied up to the people that have left you. Your destiny is not tied up to the company that fired you. Your destiny is not tied up to the things that you have lost. Your destiny is intact. Your purpose is intact. Your life is intact. Because nothing just happens. You're in the plan of God. I'm going to read, I love this verse, 1 Peter 1:6. In this you greatly rejoice, though now for a little while you may have had to suffer grief in all kinds of trials. Elbow someone beside you and say, just for a little while. The PIETA had to go through 8 years. 8 years of pain. But you know what? It was finished in 1499. For 500 plus years, it's been magnificent and glorious and wonderful at the St. Peter's Basilica. 8 years of pain for just a little while. Are you going through some kind of pain right now? God's word to you, just a little bit, just a little bit, just for a while. Let me end with one last story. May I? Last month, I heard Joyce Mayer. I was in a gathering like this, and she was preaching, and I heard her share about her life story. Incredible. Unbelievable. Do you know that she was abused as a child? She was, I could relate, you know. She was 9 years old, 10 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old. She was abused by her own father. By her own father. How many times? She could count. Because it happened as a pattern. It happened on a particular day, in a particular time, you know, it happened. More than 200 times. And then she met Jesus, she gave her life to God, and years later she became a preacher. And God healed her. Amazing story, amazing. And during that time, God wanted her to forgive her father. And she did in her heart. She forgave her father. Listen, there were times when years later, decades later, she went to her father and she said, Dad, I forgive you for what you did when I was a child. You know what her father said? What did they do? He denied it. And so, you know, Joyce said, well, I forgive you. I forgive you. That's it. You know, her mother just allowed the abuse. She told her mother, you know, about what's happening, about how her father would molest her, and the mother did not believe her. There was one time when the mother entered the house and she saw with her 2 eyes her husband abusing the child. You know what the mother did? Turned around, left the house. 2 hours later, came back as if nothing happened. Typical codependent. Typical codependent rescuing the husband. Years later, the parents of Joyce were old, very old, needed to be cared for. They lived far away from the city. God spoke to Joyce while she was praying, and God said, give them a home, near your home. Take care of them. Buy them a house. Now Joyce said, what? Me? After all that they've done to me? But you know, she was obedient, and that's what she did. It was very tempting. She said she wanted to buy an ugly house with ugly furniture. But no, she bought them a nice house, you know, nice stuff inside, brought her parents near her home. She cared for them. 3 years later, the mother of Joyce calls up Joyce and says, Joyce, you better come here if you can, visit us. Your father has been crying non-stop for 3 weeks now, every day, crying. She goes there, sees her father crying, sits in front of him, and the father says, Joyce, I'm sorry. For the first time in his life, he said sorry. He was 80 plus years old. And he said, I've been wanting to say this for 3 years now, since we moved into this house. I've wanted to talk to you and I wanted to tell you, but I could not. I just want to say I'm sorry for what I did when you were a child. I did not know it would harm you in this way. And then the father talked about his family, about how he came from a very incestuous family as well. Because hurt people hurt people. You understand that? And so there. Joyce forgave her father, brought him to church, made him come to know Jesus, give his life to God at the age of 80 plus. And then Joyce ended her sharing in this way. She said, I thought I was buying a house. No, I was buying a soul. But because of what happened to her, today, Joyce is able to minister and touch thousands of broken women. Amazing ministry. All the women who have been abused, and thousands of them, they are touched by the story and the ministry of Joyce. Are you listening to me? The pain that she went through. Yes, God did not want that to happen. Never. But it happened. But because it happened, it doesn't mean it's of no use. Nothing just happens. God can use that pain to make something beautiful. And I'm going to say this to you, whatever pain you're going through right now, I want you to believe the best is yet to come. And great things are going to happen in your life. The important thing is do not give up. Are you in pain right now? Do not give up. One last thing. Ruth stayed with Naomi, yes? Listen to me. What if she did not stay with Naomi? Would she have met Boaz? No. If you're in pain now, don't give up. Just keep on doing the right thing. Keep on doing the right thing. Ruth did the right thing. Yeah. Served her mother-in-law loyally. God rewarded her. Lift up your hands, because you need this. Say this after me. Father, I will never give up. I will keep on doing the right thing. In the midst of my trial, in the midst of the pain, I will be like Ruth. I will do the right thing. I will follow you. And I believe my Boaz will come. My promise will be fulfilled. My dream will be fulfilled. The best is yet to come. Because nothing just happens. I believe. I believe. I trust you.
Ayan mga ka-faith, I'm sure na sobra kayo na-bless at na-inspire dyan sa talk ni Brother Bo Sanchez, at sobrang powerful talaga. Paano niya na-connect yung PIETA sa ating mga pinagdaanan sa buhay, sa ating mga pain. That our pain can become our gain. Our problems could be a blessing in disguise. Alam niyo mga ka-faith, 5 years ago, ganyan yung na-experience ko sa buhay. Nagkaroon ako ng isang financial crisis sa buhay ko. Ito yung time na nag-resign ako sa isang trabaho because I was failing on that job. And nung time na yon ay nag-start ako ng isang negosyo. At alam nyo mga ka-faith, na nalugi yung negosyo na yon, at doon for 3 years I experienced financial crisis in my life. Na lahat ng ginagawa ko, hindi nagwo-work, hindi binibless ni Lord. Sobrang hirap noon mga ka-faith, kasi dumating ako sa point na kahit pang gupit, ay wala akong mabunot sa bulsa ko. As in zero. Na sobrang sakit kasi nilalait ka ng kamag-anak mo, mismo sarili mong pamilya, dahil wala kang silbi eh. Diba? Parang you cannot provide even sa anak ko. Dumating din ako sa point na I question God. I lose my faith on myself and almost lose my faith to God. that I question him, bakit niya yun hinayaan sa buhay ko? Bakit niya inalaw na dumaan ako sa ganung malaking problema? Bakit niya inalaw na alipostahin ako? Bakit niya inalaw na dumating ako sa 3 years of drought and dry season? Tinatanong ko siya ng Lord, wala ka bang awa sa akin at sa anak ko? Bakit mo hinayaan to sa buhay ko? And you know what? Nung mga panahon na yon, that God is so silent. Tahimik lang siya. Hindi ko maintindihan bakit ganon. I question Him every single day. Gabi-gabi, talaga naiiyak ako sa pinagdadaanan ko na yon. And you know what? 5 years ago, now I realize why God is so silent that time. Kasi kailangan niyang hayaan ako na dumaan sa pain na yon, so that He can mold me, He can shape me, He can use my pain to be my gain today. Who I am today is because of that pain, that suffering, that sorrow na na-experience ko 5 years ago. Why I'm preaching right now, why merong Catholic inspirational vlogger, 'di ba? Bakit meron itong ministry na ginagawa ko? Because of that pain that I experienced 5 years ago. And you know, mga ka-faith, God can use your pain. He can turn your pain into your gain. He can turn your problems into blessing. Hinahayaan ka niya, dumaan ka sa pagsubok na yan kasi gagamitin niya yan for His greater glory. I hope na mga ka-faith na sobra kayo na-bless at na-inspired dito sa vlog na to. And make sure na i-share nyo to sa inyong mga friends and relatives.
Hi guys! Sobrang excited ako ngayong araw na to. Tanong nyo sa akin bakit?
Bakit?
Kasi finally natapos na namin yung aming free video series for every Filipino na gustong magbago ang kanilang finances. And ako personally, sobrang yung mga shinare ko dito, alam ko sobrang magkakaroon ng value sa'yo at marami kang matututunan dito. Kasi bakit? Katulad mo, naging empleyado din ako for many years as in grabe. Experience ko 8 to 5 and paulit-ulit. Minsan susweldo ka, after mga ilang araw, yung sweldo mo, I mean, tight na tight ka na, hindi mo na alam kung paano pa babudgetin yung sweldo mo. And yung panahon na yun, for many years, ganun yung system ko. Doon ako nag-decide na kailangan kong baguhin to, kailangan may magbago. At doon ako nag-seek ng mga information, mentors na tumulong sa akin. And good news, yung mga ituturo namin dito sa video series nito, ito yung mismo yung natutunan ko sa mga mentors ko. At sa experience ko, after nung ganung cycle, finally, nag-resign na ako. Nakapag-resign na ako.
I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch.
Dahil sa mga information na gusto kong i-share sa inyo sa video series na ginawa namin. Gusto ko naman mag-give back at tumulong din sa mga kapwa ko Pilipino na nag-struggle sa finances nila.
In this video series, we have imparted lessons that we have learned throughout our journey, throughout our financial journey, and where we are now. And these lessons are the lessons that you can apply practically for your life as well. And also, we have made tutorials as well as teachings of basic things of how you can get yourself started.
Ayan mga ka-faith, paano mo nga ba mada-download itong free training na to na gusto naming ibigay sa iyo ng aking fiancé na si Jessie? Okay, so pinaghandaan talaga namin tong free training na to at dito namin na-share yung naging stock market investment journey namin. And I'm sure, sobrang matutulungan ka ng mga shinare naming information dito. Ilalagay ko yung link kung saan ka makakapunta sa page na to. Ang tawag dito is landing page. So dito mo lalagay yung name, kunyari Adrian. Yan. And your email. Yan. So ilagay mo yung tamang email address mo para alam ko kung saan padadala yung free training video. Okay, so i-click mo lang to, send me the training. So pagka-click mo dyan, so mapupunta ka na dito sa page na to. So sa page na to, nandito lahat
yung 3 free training na gusto namin i-share sa'yo, I'm sure na sobra kang matutulungan nito. Okay? So, yung link ay ilalagay ko sa baba ng video na to. I-click mo lang yun or dito sa may description box, ilalagay ko yung link kung saan mo pwedeng ma-access itong free training video na to. Okay? So, thank you and God bless.
So that's it. Thank you for watching this video. I hope na na-bless at na-inspire ka dito sa aking vlog. Make sure na i-like mo at mag-comment ka sa baba ng video na to at mag-subscribe ka sa aking YouTube channel para lagi kang updated sa mga bagong vlog na gagawin ko. At huwag mo din kakalimutan na i-like ang aking page. So this been Adrian Milag, encouraging you to live your life to the fullest. God bless you more abundantly.